So the next thing here is something that I am incredibly excited about. So I've called it autopilot by audio. And one of the things I realized when I was traveling is that it's really hard to create a writing conducive environment when you don't have the physical space to really anchor your habits in. So for people who live in the same, like who live in the same place, that's easier because you can be like, okay, well, X amount of steps before I get to the kettle, I turn that on, bam, 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 and you sort of like get into that autopilot mode quite easily because the space reinforces your routine. So what do you do when you don't have a space to reinforce your routine and things are constantly changing and you wake up some mornings and you're like, where the fuck am I, right? Like people who travel a lot, like will definitely recognize that feeling of like shit. And all of a sudden, like your amygdala kicks in because you're like terrified of where you are. It's a very short moment of time, but like there is that sort of like anxiety around it. So what I like devised for myself is something sort of like it's like audio priming. I don't have a word for it, but essentially what I did when I started traveling was that I created a playlist, and then I had a set playlist that I listened to every single morning, and I did the same thing for the same for each and every one of those songs. It's a combination. It was a combination of like motivational speeches and songs. So it would be like, okay, I wake up, this song comes on. I do yoga, this song is on. I go to the coffee machine, this song goes on. Make myself a coffee or sort of whatever, sort of figure out my beverage situation, which can also be a bit hard if you're traveling, but there'll always be a kettle, right? I do my meditation, either silent or with like a music track. And so throughout my entire morning, it was entirely dictated by the song. And so it helped calm my brain because my brain was like, well, I don't recognize any of this. Like this all seems like a little bit out there, but at least sort of like what's in the input, the audio stimuli that I'm receiving, I recognize that. I feel safe. I feel like we can go about with our day. And actually, irrespective of whether you use this for your writing or not, I highly recommend if you travel a lot to do this audio priming of just telling your brain in the morning everything's going to be all right. Off topic, I suffered a lot from sort of IBS, and IBS is quite stress related, and audio priming has been immensely helpful for that too because it's basically like you want to sort of get you want to get off that fight or flight state that you're in the morning when you wake up somewhere new. And again, my brain then, as soon as it sort of heard that track and it knew what was going to happen, it was like, okay, fine, it's calm, I can relax. And sort of a lot of IBS is relating to sort of your body's not relaxing properly. So a huge fan of audio priming. I'm a huge fan of VLC, but it's a little bit sort of clunky in its infrastructure and it's not as sexy as Spotify. But it means that you can sort of download music and tracks from all around the internet through different degrees of legitimate sources. Stays here, and put it down on that and sort of entirely customize your playlist. So that's super, super helpful. I will maybe do a tutorial on it if you feel like it's still a little bit weird to address. So yeah, create the space with the audio because that means also like you can take your writing habit with you everywhere.